So this is the 5th segment of the Dental Marketing Summit series. In the 4th segment, we discussed the difference between 100% cookie cutter design and 100% custom design. And you really don't want either. You want something in the middle, something tested and customized, not just cookie cutter and not just custom. And then we started down the path of the mediums. And we always start with the internal mediums because they always cost the least and will always return the best ROI. So we talked about referral brochures and systemizing the way you gain referrals from your existing patients. We discussed a couple of wonderful pieces that you could develop and send to your newest patients before they ever come to your office for the first time. We went from there right into some examples with design, and we challenged you. We threw a couple of designs at you, and we asked you to rate them on your own mind, how much you liked them or how much you thought they would present your practice in a way that you were comfortable with or that you liked. And we put the statistics up after them, and we showed you what those designs generated. And there was quite a surprise, most likely, in that most of you liked or potentially liked one of the designs that didn't do so well. And you probably hated the design that really did very well. And the point there was the top half of the dental market is fickle. We went through why. Why are they fickle? What do they need that's different than the bottom half of the market? We discussed the layout and how we went through the USA Today and the vignettes and having many marketable attributes, not just one or two. And then we went through postcards with direct mail. And now in this segment, we're going to continue with external mail as normally your first investment in external marketing. Really, 90 to 95% of the markets, the first place you should invest your marketing dollars is in mail. But it's not just any mail. So we're going to take our time and we're going to discuss the ways to do it right. And there's dozens of ways to do it wrong. And we didn't just stumble upon the right way to do it. It was part of testing, years and years and years of testing. One of the characteristics of mail, or one of the things you want to make sure of within your mail campaign, is that you have enough volume. We hear all the time, I did direct mail. I sent a letter or a mailer to all the new homeowners, right? And let's think about this. How many new homeowners are there really on a monthly basis within a 5-mile radius of your practice? The answer is probably somewhere between 300 and 400. 300 or 400 targets isn't nearly the number of targets that you need to generate the kind of response from a real direct mail campaign. I'm not saying the other one's not real. It was real, but there was flaws in the strategy. One of the flaws is new homeowners are probably the worst target. We understand why dentists would gravitate toward new homeowners. It seems like a fair playing ground.
Well, sure, yeah.
I mean, you're not competing against other dentists if you're going for new homeowners.
Right.
Okay. The problem is that every merchant in your market gets the same new homeowner list. So those poor new homeowners, their mailboxes. I've seen mailboxes literally with the front door open from all the mail that new homeowners get. Everybody has access to the new homeowner list. So not only is it not the right target market, it's too small.
It dilutes your message.
Of the number of targets and the sheer volume of merchants mailing to those poor new homeowners dilutes your ability to actually get them to pay attention.
Right.
Okay. That's a problem with with mailing just to new homeowners.
Right, and there's another problem too, and that's it. It used to be back several years ago that new homeowner or new mover list were sort of a separate item. these people had not yet become part of the main clearinghouse databases, right, for all the mailing lists in the country. And so there was a lag there where they weren't receiving normal direct mail. They could only receive the newcomer mailers. Well, that's not the case anymore.
Right.
I mean, within 3 days, a new mover will be in the Equifax database, for example. So you really don't need to buy a separate list. You're going to hit the same people anyway. You're going to hit the new homeowners when you mail into your zip codes. So there's really not a good solid reason to go out and buy a specific list of new movers, excuse me.
If you want to mail to new movers, that's fine. There's no real problem with it. It just doesn't give you an advantage. It actually creates a little more risk actually to your marketing dollar. But we're not talking about large marketing dollars if you're only dealing with 300 or 400 targets.
Right.
So let's compare that to kind of a normal, typical mail campaign.
Hmm.
Normal, typical mail campaign would be 15,000 targets. Again, now the way you target it is important. I'm going to get into that in a second, but 15,000 targets, printing, if your doctor-patient ratio is less than 1 to 1,600, I would print 4 mailers per target, so I would print 60,000 mailers for the year. If it's greater than 1 to 1,600, I would only print 3, so maybe I would print 45,000 mailers for the year. I would definitely not mail in July and not mail in December unless you're in an area of the country like Florida, where you have a lot of snowbirds in December, or July, maybe some mountain vacation areas where you might have some homeowners that you can hit in July because they're there on vacation. But outside of that, skip July, skip December. Don't even. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking your whole year's worth of mail volume. Let's say it's 45,000 pieces, and you divide it by 10 mail months. And so you're going to distribute about 4,500 pieces a month,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And in that list, certainly could be the new movers
Hmm.
that have, just come into the system. That's certainly an option, but it's not really an option that's going to gain you anything, but it actually adds a little bit of additional risk. Targeting, as we mentioned prior, basically what the right targeting is, or the targeting that we have found to be statistically, the performance has been statistically best, is put a push pin in the roof of your office, have Equifax go out as far as it needs to go to find the top 40% of the market in geographic distance, in household income, in marketability index, and in creditworthiness. If you do that and you go out and say, okay, I don't want to mail to the 60%. I just want to focus my dollars on just that 40%. And I want to hit those households 3 times, whether they're new movers, they moved a year ago, or they moved 27 years ago, or they're the original owner of the house from 87 years ago. That circle of people around your practice, that's who you want to target. Now, that makes the mail list more expensive, but look at the waste you are avoiding. You are only spending your money on only the people in a regional geographic distance of your practice, and your waste it goes down to almost nothing.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, the mail list is a little more expensive, but when you compare it to the overall cost of a mail campaign, boy, does it pay off. Um, Once you're done targeting and you have your mail list and you're going to hit them 3 times throughout the year at 4,500 mailers a month, now you have to go through design. So what we're going to do is bring up a design of an external mailer in front of you. You're looking at it, right now, and it's an example of what Howie was talking about in the prior segment, which is, and actually segments before the prior segment, where we said, let's line up your marketable attributes. Let's group them by what the consumer wants to see and hear. And once you have your groupings, then you have your layout. In this case, you're looking at a 10 by 18 trifold layout. And you start to put your pieces You put your vignettes
Hmm.
into the space.
Right.
Okay.
This is actually an evolution from the earlier piece that we showed you that was too busy and
Right.
nobody liked it, right? Uh, this is a continuation of that same theme, the same format, only it looks a little bit different these days.
Right.
But you'll notice that, yeah, we have the little, we call them vignettes, little stories about each marketable attribute of the practice, or as many as we can get in. It's sometimes impossible to get them all in. And enough information that would get somebody interested in picking up
One
the phone and calling.
right in one thing. It doesn't have to be all 8 things.
Right,
One thing, 2 things. They
right,
don't even have to be genuinely interested. They can be moderately interested.
right.
As long as they call you or log on to your website to learn more. And we're going to talk about websites and the internet and its role in this whole process in future segments. But what you're looking at right now is the proper way to organize, group, and prioritize your marketable attributes, lay them out, present them to the top half of the local dental market around you. You know, so that's a real good summary. Oh, here's the other thing: the call tracking number.
Hmm.
There are a couple more things about mail. You got to have a call tracking number on it because if you do even an average mail campaign, it's going to take up a good percentage of your marketing budget. So with anything that takes up more than 10% of your marketing budget, you put a call tracking number in it. That's to us, it's mandatory, right? Okay,
It is now.
it is. It's
We
basically
included it
right,
in the service.
right.
It
You
has
just
to be there.
it has to be there. Okay, so you can log on and say, oh, I wonder how many people called off my mail. You can look, you can listen to the phone calls. We discussed this in prior segments, but mail is certainly one of the ones that you want to have a call tracking number on. I also want to draw your attention to the lower right-hand corner of this mailer. Because we get this question a lot. Um, they'll have one or two, maybe three introductory offers, tasteful introductory offers in the lower, usually in the lower right-hand corner of almost everything that we do as far as direct mail. And doctors will call us and say, well, I thought you guys weren't going to you're not supposed to use coupons. You're not supposed to use, aren't I going after the bottom half of the market? Here's the irony. Here's the beauty and the irony. Before mom gets to the lower right-hand corner of that mailer that you're looking at, she's already chosen you for one or more reasons.
Right. That's exactly the point.
Right.
We don't want somebody to choose you because of
A deal.
an offer of some
Right.
sort. The piece itself has to be convincing enough that they've already made up their mind. And
Right.
oh, by the way, I might be able to get half off on teeth whitening.
Right. And if you do these
Okay.
right, what will happen is some of these new patients will actually bring these to the office with them. And they will open them up and point to what they were most interested in.
Hmm.
And hardly any of them, probably less than 20% of the people that become new patients will ever reference any of the offers.
Right. They'll just stop asking about it
They'll
after a while. And we tell our clients,
Right.
look for that,
Right.
because that's going to happen. We normally use offers in the initial mailing, the first one,
The first year.
the first year.
Right.
And then very often the client will say, well, nobody ever asks about these anyway. So fine, we know we can take them off.
We have more space for marketable attributes.
And then we have more space. But we do include them. We like to include them because the numbers tell us that, if you make a tasteful, not a coupon-y or not a garish kind of an offer, but a tasteful, low dollar way or reduced dollar way to introduce your practice to the patient, it helps. It helps with the response.
Right, and you don't have to compete of being the lowest price provider
No,
of something
no.
or the local provider that gives the most away initially. You don't have to even come close to competing in that space. That's not what this is about. It could be something as subtle as a complimentary second opinion. In incredibly competitive markets, complimentary second opinions are wonderfully effective. It could be a reduced exam fee for the family member you bring in right after, either at or after your initial visit. So it's not, you don't have to compete to be the cheapest. Actually, you don't really have to compete on price at all because the whole thing is building value in your services anyway.
Mhm.
And like we said, I mean, hardly anyone ever brings in the mailer and says, I want the complimentary second. By the time they get to those offers, they're already convinced at some level for some reason that they're interested in coming to this practice. So you're not going to alienate the top half of the market by doing tasteful offers. You will upset them and alienate them if your entire piece, or let's say 50% of your
50%
entire,
of the real estate.
is dominated by some deal. Okay, there's just half the moms will just get turned off by that. And that's, most of you, if you're watching this, if you're solo practice, or if you have a good solid patient flow and you just need a few more, or whatever your situation, most of you should be going after the half of the market segment that most dentists are ignoring, and that's the top half of the market. So that's male. Now we're going to go through the other mediums, the other external mediums, one by one. The next one in line, well, we're going to save the internet and websites and all that stuff for the last couple of segments. So normally when you invest your money, you start with your internal. You would do your website, your internet, start your internet strategy and your mail at the same time and get them deployed. Just hold the internet and websites off for a second. Now we're going to jump right to print media. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. The print media. Many people think it's dying. It's actually going through sort of a transitional renaissance. In some markets, it's pretty dead. In some markets, it's booming and coming back strong. So one of the things you have to do, first, let's define print media. You probably recognize newspapers, magazines, and print ads, like you rent space. You rent space inside the page or pages of a magazine or a newspaper. Uh, that's one example of a print media use of your dollars. Another one is newspaper inserts, and we're going to come back to those. But those are the annoying things that fall out of your newspaper on Fridays and Saturdays when all the local shoppers are trying to catch all the local merchants are trying to catch the weekend shoppers. Newspaper inserts can be very effective. Magazine ads, you may look at uh, periodicals, usually monthlies, that are regionally distributed and claim that they only go to households with greater than 150,000 in income. Or there's so many of those.
Most of the major cities have kind of a slick, glossy magazine,
Right.
Las Vegas magazine, or
Right.
so forth and so on. So
Right. Before we get into the actual design elements of print ads, let me talk about this. Let's just take a couple seconds to discuss how to select, even consider the magazine or the newspaper before you even consider design, because you don't ever want to put your money into a medium that has many dentists in it. We worked with a dentist who had previously been advertising at a pretty significant cost. It was $2,000 or $3,000 a month on a consistent basis every month for like 3 years in a magazine that was distributed to all of South Jersey, that had 8 other dentists with full page ads in it. That's message dilution. If you never want to put yourself in a position of being equal.
No.
Right. If you're going to invest money, you invest money in something to dominate it. If you can't dominate it, you don't invest in it. If you can dominate it, but it puts you out of budget, you don't invest in it. It's so your first judgment is, can I dominate this space? It'd be okay if there was 8 other dentists with quarter page ads and you went in with a full page ad inside front cover, right?
That's domination.
Okay, that's domination. There's, the other quarter page ads, you've basically blown them away. The problem is with most print media, the inside front cover is going to be $4,500 a month, and it's probably going to take you out of budget. So you have to take the costs and the amount of competition in the space, and always ask yourself the question, can I dominate it? That's true for newspapers, it's true for magazines, it's true for any form of print media. Until you get to newspaper inserts, which is second to mail, actually, in statistical performance. It's nowhere near 96%, but it is the second most predictable, least risk external promotion for your dollar. And let me go through some of the pros and cons of inserts. The pros. Let's go through the pros first. Cheap, 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 cheap. Inexpensive. You can print and distribute one insert for like 12 cents almost anywhere in America through your newspaper. Okay? Wonderful. Inserts are geographically targetable, which print ads aren't. So if you take a print ad, if you pay $3,000 a month for a print ad, and that magazine or newspaper is distributed to 50,000 people within a 30-mile radius, there is at least 80% waste in that investment, because inside of 15 miles is where your core market's going to be, and those people have 47 dentists between you and the target, so you're wasting a lot of your ad dollar. Inserts can be geographically targeted. In other words, you call up the newspaper and say, let me see your zone map for your inserts, and they'll give you a map of the area, and it'll have colored blocks on it. And you just pick the colored blocks that you want your inserts to go into, and normally they're 10,000 subscribers per block. So you pick a couple of blocks, that's 20,000 inserts, and for $2,400 you hit 20,000 people. That's very inexpensive. Now, timing is of utmost importance. Many newspapers will only insert on Fridays and Saturdays, but there's also many that will insert 7 days a week.
Okay.
And then there's other newspapers that will insert maybe on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and then the weekend. Okay, so one of the things you take into consideration is you ask the newspaper, do you do weekday inserts? Because you don't want to do, you're a dentist, you don't want to do an insert on a Friday or Saturday, really for two reasons. Number one, you don't have any phone coverage on Friday and Saturday. Number two, you're going to be one insert mixed in with the myriad of stuff that falls on your kitchen floor when you open up the newspaper, and you don't want, that's a media dilution. You don't want to be caught in that media dilution. So,
Right.
But Wednesdays, I mean, open up your newspaper next Wednesday and see if there's any inserts in it, or Tuesday, or whatever day you want, some weekday. That's the opportunity for dentists, is to put your insert in the newspaper in these two zones on a weekday where hardly anybody else has inserts in or nobody has inserts in the newspaper. Best case scenario, you're the only insert in that newspaper that day.
Right.
Okay, that's the best case scenario.
Another advantage to inserts is that they're two-sided.
Yeah.
So you have real estate on the front, real estate on the back. It's usually 8.5 by 11, and they can be full color. And we're going to show you some in a minute, but there's quite a bit of benefit that you can communicate with a newspaper insert, far more than you can with a print ad.
Yes. So inserts. Now, here let me give you some cons. Inserts aren't as predictable as mail, but nothing is. Another pro of inserts.
Well,
If you're an instant gratification junkie, inserts are probably for you. If you drop 20,000 inserts on your local market on a Tuesday, your phone's going to ring. If it's going to ring, which it should, but if it's going to ring on Tuesday, maybe a few stragglers on Wednesday, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to get too
Generally.
much. There's not too much life to an insert. It's
The
like a short burst.
The shelf life
Right.
is much shorter. Whereas, oddly enough, people will hang on to a direct mail piece
For a long
for
time.
a long time.
Right.
We've got clients that tell us, yeah, this guy came in and
It was my old
it was
piece.
3 years ago that
Right.
we mailed this.
Right.
But inserts, not so much.
No, they don't save them. They don't put them on the takeout menu drawer. They don't put them on the refrigerator. They do the mailers, but they don't do the inserts.
Right.
Now let's look at this. Howie had mentioned real estate. You have an 8.5 by 11 double-sided, full-color, glossy presentation that stands out in any black and white paper. That's what you paid $2,400 for at 12 cents a piece times 20,000 targets. Okay. Well, if you could put a $2,400 print ad in the same newspaper, it's probably going to be this big. It's probably going to be black and white, and it's definitely not going to be two-sided. And you definitely don't have enough real estate to talk about the benefits of the dentistry your practice provides. Okay, so we're not saying print ads aren't worthy of consideration, because they are. It's just we would give in our analysis and strategy department, we would give inserts our first consideration to determine whether or not they would have a best chance of working first, and then potentially move into print ads at a later time. Uh, other other ads, print ads. Now, it's not just a newspaper, it's not just magazines. All right, where there are tremendous opportunities are in the smaller
Neighborhood type.
neighborhood type. I know on the East Coast we have over 55 communities, age restricted communities, and they almost always have a newsletter. And oh my gosh, their advertising rates are exorbitant. It's like $60 a month, okay, to put a full page ad in the back of their little newsletter. Tremendous opportunities if you just reach out or have someone from your practice just reach out and talk to some of these organizations, local chambers of commerce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens and dozens of these opportunities, and here's the beauty of it. Well, there's several beauties. Number one, other dentists ignore it. Most of them.
Generally.
Right, generally, okay. And number two, they're cheap. You can we're actually developing an ad to go into it's a golf it's a leaflet that you get as a golfer that goes through every hole and shows you the sand traps and shows you the yardage and everything like that. And they sell, advertising space over here on the corner for $300 for the year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you have nothing but people opening that thing up, and we made a connection with golf, and if you call and become a patient, you get a free box of Pro Vs, right?
Ones, yeah.
So, those smaller types is where we would focus our attention when it comes to print ads. When it comes to newspapers, we would most likely start with inserts, or at least determine if that's the best investment for the practice with that print media. There's a whole other alternative. The whole other alternative is to skip investing in inserts and paid ads in your newspaper, skip the small stuff, skip the magazines that get distributed to all the people that make a lot of money, and just honestly create your own magazine. You can create a magazine that's only about you. There's no other material in it. There's no other pictures in it. It's all you. It's all about it. Basically what it is, it's that mailer, the design of the mailer on steroids.
Yeah.
Basically, it becomes an 8 or a 16-page coffee table piece, all about educating really the top 10% of the market. I wouldn't distribute these to much below the top 10% of the market.
No.
Because they can, they're 45 cents a piece.
Pretty pricey.
Just to produce them are 45 cents a piece. Then you have to distribute them. So, and it's not something it's not like regular direct mail where you have to mail 3 times a year to the same household on a consistent basis. You don't have to hit the same household on a consistent basis with these, because people definitely don't immediately discount them and throw them away. These are savable pieces. So you can actually create your own print media and get it to only the people you want to get it to in your marketplace. And again, if that's going to consume more than 10% of your marketing budget, what do? You put a call tracking number on it. If you do a print ad and it takes up more than 10% of your budget, what are you going to do? You're going to put a call tracking number on it. Same thing with your newspaper inserts. We always have call tracking numbers on the inserts because, again, we want to know if your market is going to produce when you do an insert campaign. We don't want to guess or think or sense or feel. We want to know. And as the CEO of your practice, you should want to know.
Exactly.
Right? So, okay, now we've just discussed some print media, how to select the right one, things to avoid, the priority list on things to check out in your local community. Now let's go through some design. Just like the mailer design, right? There's certain rules. Again, not 100% custom, not 100% cookie cutter. You can't use the same ad in every market for every dentist. You also can't just willy-nilly run around creating something new, never seen before. So there are specific design concepts that you need to follow. So we're gonna bring up 2 different ads. One of them is a strikingly beautiful woman with a pick list of things you can get done at a dental practice. and the other one is a little more informative, a little more wordy, and you be the judge. After the mailer that we showed you before and the exercise we went through before, we're hoping that you're thinking that the one on the left of your screen outperformed the one on the right. But what we really want is for you to tell us why. Why did the one on the left? We need to, when we're doing this live, we can get this input.
Right.
We
Right.
can just ask the audience. We can put them on the spot. And then, because they'll think to themselves, oh, I know what they want. They want me to say the left one. And then we say, why?
Why?
Why did the left one work? And we don't want you just to say the left one. We want you to understand why the left one worked and why the right one is so beautiful. It's open area. It probably won a design award. And certainly the model is beautiful and striking. Why didn't the right one work on the top half of the dental market? Why did the left one work? We'll tell you now. All right. It's the same thing we said in the mailer. The one on the right is all about cosmetics.
Right.
Okay. The one on the right is clearly communicating only to 8% of the market that wants, needs, or values some kind of rehabilitative treatment
Right.
now. Okay. It's not building to that.
Right.
They're looking for people who want it now.
And to be fair, that's the only people that this particular practice is interested in.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, though, cosmetic dentistry overall, since the recession, has taken a 28% hit.
Right.
So you've got a shrinking number of people who are interested in an already small market of pure cosmetics.
Right.
Also, the one on the right, beautiful as it is, and it does have some information as well. It's a danger because it's walking that line of having the public perceive it as too expensive.
Right.
You're only obviously interested in supermodels.
Right.
So if you're not a supermodel, we're not interested in you.
Right.
And they'll perceive it as too expensive. Where the one on the left is, granted, much more pedestrian looking, but it's also pretty informative, and it hits the marketable attributes. Due to real estate restrictions, you can't say a whole lot, but we managed to explain dental implants and whitening and so forth. And these marketable attributes are, by survey and by testing, the things that most people are looking for. So there's some reasons why the one on the left outperformed the one on the right.
Well, the one on the left just appeals to more people.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's a numbers game.
It is.
At this point.
It is.
And dentists think that by appealing to more people, they're going to get less of the people they want. And if you do it right, it's actually the opposite. It's counterintuitive to what dentists think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you do it right and you don't leave, if you look at the one on the left, is there a big coupon that says $39 exam special? No, there's not. All right. By going after a broader segment of moms and bringing 8 in instead of 2, 8 moms who could easily be candidates for cosmetic or rehabilitative dentistry sometime in the future, instead of just the 2 who might want it, need it, or value it today. Okay, because they have to recognize today that they want, need, or value that. Mm-hmm. This isn't a relationship building proposition. This is a selling proposition. Mm-hmm. All right. Do you want cosmetic dentistry? We're the people to do it. Well, the people on the left are people who are just looking for a great dentist. Yeah, maybe they have some cosmetic needs, mm-hmm. Okay? But they're really just looking for a great dentist for their family. And once they come in and you diagnose and you present, you ask them the question, what do you like and what do you dislike about your smile? And mom says, well, I dislike XYZ. 6 months,
a year later,
18 months, 2 years, they get the work done. And we've asked this question around the country 3-4 dozen times. How many dentists don't want a big case 3 years from now? And nobody ever raises their hand. It's amazing. So that's the reason. The reason why the one on the right was outperformed by the one on the left, even though it's probably counterintuitive to everybody looking at this, That's the reason. That's the main reason why.
Yeah, I think you could probably summarize it and simplify it by saying the one on the right wants a big case right now.
Right now.
The one on the left, they're willing to wait a while.
Right. Okay. There you go. That's a good way to do it. All right, insert. Let's go back through inserts. Let's just review. They're low cost to produce, low cost to distribute. You can target them geographically, and you can use them seasonally. One thing I didn't say before about inserts, especially for you folks who are willing to work with children. So I have two words for you: summer months. Kids are home. Mom knows the kids are home. Mom probably works, during the day. It's crazy. Loves it when the kids are in school. She doesn't have to worry about the kids. But now they're home. They're probably at camp, okay? This is the time when mom loves to get her kids to all the health things, all the dental appointments out of the way during the summer months because
Ortho starts are high.
ortho starts. You talk to any orthodontist and say, when do you do most of your case starts? They will say September. Well, there's a reason for that. The market moms want that done before back to school because moms in general are I mean, they're just insane busy during back to school.
Mm-hmm.
You have, well, first of all the stuff that you have, all the clothes you had to buy your kids, and they had to be happy with the clothes. And then once they're happy with the clothes, they go to school and they have to be happy with their teacher. And when they come home and they have those 15 things you have to fill out, you have 67 books to cover. Like your whole night is shot for like 4 weeks in September. And there isn't a mom on earth that doesn't realize, oh, then you got PTA, you got parent teacher night, right?
Sports.
You got sports that are starting and booster clubs. And oh my goodness, it's just, it's incredible. The amount of family management overhead on mom in the month of September. Well, moms know this, and inherently they'll schedule this out and get all these other things done in July and August when the kids are off of school,
Mm-hmm.
or during winter break or spring break.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime the kids are home, here's the bottom line: anytime the kids are home, if you have a pedo component to your practice or a pedo ortho component to your practice, that's the time to use inserts and make the design not all about kids, but use one side of the entire insert to talk about dentistry for children and all the benefits of the dentistry that you provide to the youngest of our population. That will definitely get their attention. And again, hook a call source number to it so you can track it. But the summer months and when the kids are home from school is definitely the best time to do that. So you say to yourself, well, what do these insert things look like? So we're going to bring one up on the screen for you. This is a back and front. You have to look at it, just kind of look at it like it's going to be flipped over.
Single sheet of paper.
Single sheet of paper.
Double-sided.
Right, not folded.
Right.
It's an annoying thing that falls out of the newspaper. It's just going to fall out on Tuesday.
Right.
Or Wednesday. And you're going to be the only one. Right?
Now, this much like the mailer, as you can see, there are little stories here and there. There's a fairly extensive description or biography of the doctor.
Yes.
She happens to be female, which is a very great marketable attribute, but you can still use inserts if you're male. And in general, it gives the marketable attributes a presentation that's a little different than the mailer. You've got the 10 questions to ask your dental office.
You got a lot of room.
You got a lot of room.
You got a lot of room.
There's a personal message from the doctor, basically saying, hey, I'm a patient too, and what would I want as a patient? Well, I'd want to run on time. I'd want the doctor to pay attention only to me. I'd want
friendly financing.
Yeah, I don't want it to hurt,
right.
et cetera, et cetera. So that's a very personal message from the dentist to the prospective patient. So in many ways, it conforms very closely with the same basic format and theory and philosophical underpinning as the mailers do.
Right. So there's an insert. If you have the opportunity and you have the room in your budget, give them a try. Now let's go to magazine ads or newspaper ads. This is a situation where you basically rent space in a 8.5 by 11, or some newspapers are like 2.5 by 3 feet, right? But you're renting space. So you have normally limited room to say what you want to say, okay? Magazine ads they're usually pretty pricey. especially if they're being distributed to a decent number of claimed higher income households.
Mhm.
Um, Results? Well, it depends on how many other dentists are in there. The more dentists that are in there, the more you should shy away. The more dentists that are in there, the more you should look to dominate the space. Normally, we wouldn't allocate any money into a magazine ad or even a newspaper print ad until we've tried inserts first.
Mhm.
If inserts and the distribution of inserts in your market exists.
Mhm.
There's some markets in the U.S. where there is no magazine that comes out that isn't that there is no newspaper that comes out that's just about that community. It's about
Yeah.
a gigantic community,
Yeah. A
so it doesn't
region.
a region, so it doesn't make any sense to do inserts.
Another downside to print advertising is you have to be in for the long haul.
Right.
Unlike inserts where you can get a quick response, sort of instant blast, print ads and also radio and TV, they require a
Time.
large budget spread out over a longish period of time. You just can't run one or two ads here and there and expect to gain any traction because you won't.
Unless you're going to give away dentistry.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. If you're
But we
going
don't
to,
want you to do that.
well, I mean, if you have a lot of capacity to fill, you may
Yeah,
have to do both. You
yeah.
may have to do a print ad with an aggressive pricing strategy and a direct mail campaign to the top 40% of the market.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So magazine or print ads, um, you know, that's how you would use them.
Mhm.
You wouldn't say, well, I'm going to put 40% of my entire annual budget into a medium like a magazine or a newspaper. Um, it would just be way too risky
Mhm.
from our testing and our statistical standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we have print ads as a medium and you understand, when to use them, when not to use them, let's go through print ad design. It basically mimics the same principles as mail and inserts, right, Howie?
It pretty much does, as you can see. And this particular practice was interested in a, a volume
Well,
of patients, right?
this practice
Loads.
needs 230 new patients a month.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
really going for it. And there's
Right.
4 docs and 26 staff, and
Right.
so they needed that. So thus you can see across the bottom there are some
Aggressive offers.
aggressive offers of a free exam, I think, or $1 new patient exam. That's what they required to get the volume up. Now their practice is set up so efficiently and so wonderfully that they get big case dentistry out of these folks.
Right.
So they don't have to be afraid of which side of the market they're going after. They
Right.
want everybody,
Right.
right?
I'll point out one other thing and sometimes this gets lost when we talk about design, and it's easily lost, and it makes sense why it's lost. Even though there's an aggressive offer at the bottom of this ad, that aggressive offer takes up less than 4% of the design space.
Right.
All right. If you do the numbers and you count up the inches and the square inches, that space takes up less than 4% of the design space. So 96% of the design space is all about the benefits of the dentistry this practice provides. If they only wanted the bottom half of the market, the coupons would take up 96%. And then we have this little pick list of just the dentistry they do,
Yeah.
okay? Which is the ads that you folks see constantly in US markets around the country. The postcards with 50% of the design space talking about some deal, all right?
Yeah.
Even if you're going to have, and this is a great example, if you're going to have an aggressive price offer, you don't have to make half of the design about the offer. You just don't. And you'll still get a good mix. You'll get a mix of moms who will choose a healthcare provider based on price, and you'll get a mix of moms who won't choose a healthcare provider based on price. So just wanted to draw your attention to that because Howie and I get questions when we do this live. We'll get somebody will raise their hand and inevitably they'll say, "Hey, I thought you said we couldn't use offers." No, wait a second. That's not what we're saying. Clearly in the mailer, you saw some intro offers in the lower right-hand corner taking up less than 5% or 10% of the design space. That's the same concept here. That's what we're trying to get through to you on this video is as you take a look at this, it doesn't mean you can't have offers. It means that you need to overwhelm the offers with the benefits of dentistry in order to do it properly.
Exactly.
That's basically what we're saying, okay? Your own magazines. Now, this is an extension of the print media. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into developing your own magazine. Total cost, by the time you get them produced, the artwork, the cameras, printing, and distribution, getting them delivered, you're looking at probably close to $1 a piece.
Yeah, probably a little bit more too.
Yeah, I mean, it's in contrast, direct mail is about 58, 60 cents, somewhere in there, doing it the right way.
Postage, printing,
Postage,
everything,
printing,
mailing
design,
list,
all that
yeah.
stuff, okay? So it's a little bit less than twice as expensive than a good solid mail campaign
Right.
per piece, all right? But if you have the type of practice where you have just a tremendous number of marketable attributes that are really could be perceived as completely unique in your marketplace. So let's say you do core deep bleaching, you do 6-month smiles, you do sleep apnea treatment, you do TNJ, TMD
You got
treatment,
CAD-CAM
you have
technology.
CAD-CAM technology, you help people with migraines, you're open 6 days a week with 6 hours in the evening and 6 hours in the early morning.
Implants,
Implants, ortho. Let's say you do all that stuff. That's when, if you have a practice like that and you have a website that's not hurting you, that's helping you gain more new patients, and you have a regular mail campaign that's going out, and you have a call tracking number and it's producing, and now you're ready to go into the print media, you have a little more room in your budget and you want to go into the print media, rather than going into inserts, rather than going into the print ads, you may want to consider developing your own magazine and only delivering it to the top 10% of the market. Now, if you're delivering your mailer to the top 40%, you're looking at a circle about this big around your practice. If you're going to mail your magazine to the top 10%, your circle just got wider. But if you have a large number of wonderful marketable attributes, you can basically do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of conveniences, lots of technology, lots of services, and services that can be perceived as unique.
Mm-hmm.
If you have those going for you, these can be tremendous. The average revenue per patient off of these is astronomical. You're not looking, you deliver 5,000 of these in a drop, and, over the next 2 or 3 years, you get 15, 20 patients off of these. Your ROI is wonderful because these patients are prepared. They're prepared before they even dial the phone. So from that perspective, if that's the type of practice you have and you have all those marketable attributes, and you really just want to, reach out to the right people and educate them on all the benefits of the dentistry you provide, that's a good, solid, efficient way to do it without wasting a whole bunch of money or wasting distribution on print ads or inserts that may not be going to people that you really want to target. So that's another alternative, is to skip all the other print media and just build your own print media. It's more involved, obviously, than the mailer, but it's not impossible, that's for sure. Yeah, certainly at your disposal. Okay, the next medium. Okay, now we've gone through, let's do a recap. We have our internal projects down. We started mail. We have a supporting website, and we're going to go through the internet and websites in the future segments. So we have that in place. And we chose one of the print media. We used a call tracking number, and it's working. Whatever we use, whether it's a print ad, an insert, our own magazine, it's deployed. Statistically, it's generating a consistent response. And we still have room in our budget for the year. Where do you go? The next choices would be radio, television, and billboards. And I use billboards with an asterisk because we normally don't put people in billboards unless they're already in another mass media. So I'm going to start with radio. Radio and television need to be analyzed. You need to have a thorough media analysis done on your market area, because the ad from the radio station, of course, is going to tell you that their programming matches your demographic perfectly. Then they're going to walk over to the hardware store down the street and they're going to say, Well, our radio station programming matches your demographic perfectly. Okay, so and they're not even close. Okay, so you need a good, thorough media analysis done. So you hire a media analysis company.
Yeah,
Okay, a media buyer.
that's what we do
Well,
for our
no,
clients.
yeah, not you don't have to hire. You wouldn't be hiring us. We hire our own.
Yeah.
Okay, and they go out and they analyze all the radio stations, all the TV, on air, cable, all the cable systems, and they determine you give them a number. Let's say you have $3,000 a month left in your budget.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm going to invest $3,000 a month in the radio. I want you to tell me which radio station, which programming, and which rotation within that programming I should invest this money in. And that's the analysis. That's their job. The media buyer's job is to determine exactly where that money should go. And obviously, you understand the consumer a little bit better now. You know you're dealing with females 28 to 68. There's programming all over the country, specifically, drawing that audience over the radio and over the television. I mean, if you were going to promote your dental practice to females on cable TV, for instance, what channel would you put them on? Would you put them on ESPN? Probably not.
No.
Okay. So, and don't discount cable television. Just because it's the word television doesn't mean it's expensive. We've bought spots in parts of the country for less than $3 a spot. All right, it depends on your market, obviously, but that's what the media analysis does. It sets up first the demographics and the rating information and says your demographic watches or listens to this radio station or these channels in your marketplace the most. So that's the first part. Then it goes through the programming. So if it's on radio, what's some of the radio programming that's the most attractive? The best radio is talk show.
Talk radio
Talk radio
has been very, very good.
Right, very, very good. I know
for
in
dentistry.
Right, I'm from New Jersey, and we have 101.5, which is just the 900-pound gorilla. It's just about New Jersey. It's a radio station that's not New York and it's not Philadelphia. It's just for New Jersey people. That's their tagline. But you call them and get a radio ad, and it's $180 for a 30-second spot. I mean, they know they're the 900-pound gorilla. Okay, so anyway, the media analysis comes back and says, okay, this station, either cable TV or radio, and let's say it's radio, and we want this station, and we want these hours of programming, and we want to rotate the following 5 ads. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stop talking. Howie and I are going to stop talking, and we're going to play you 3 different radio ads. As you're listening to these, we just want you to make a mental note, and then we're going to come back and we're going to review what you heard and explain it to you.
Hi, Mike Fisher here. Do you hate going to the dentist? I did, but not anymore. The reason? 2 little words: sedation dentistry. Sedation dentistry is a brand new approach now available for folks who hate going to the dentist. You can find it at my personal dental office, McKinneyDentist.com. Friends, this is so simple. I just took a little pill, and within minutes, I'm so relaxed. But I wasn't knocked out. In fact, I knew exactly what was going on the whole time, but I never felt a thing. If you hate going to the dentist, or maybe you just want to get all your dental care done in one visit, call my dentist, the wonderful folks at McKinneyDentist.com. Phone number 972-54-SMILE. That's 972-54-SMILE. My family won't go anywhere else. 3 private practice doctors, open 6 days a week at 7 a.m., 2 convenient McKinney locations, Doctors Berlin, Markham, and Lynch, the finest dentists in all of McKinney and Plano and Allen. Check them out on the web at McKinneyDentist.com. Can you have straight teeth without braces? Hi, Mike Fisher here to tell you about my personal dental office, the wonderful folks at McKinneyDentist.com. One of the most amazing developments that my dentist showed me is something called instant orthodontics. You've seen it on the hit TV show Extreme Makeover. Now, this isn't orthodontics or teeth straightening. There are no braces used. This is simply correcting crooked or misshapen teeth so they look like they've had years of straightening. Instant orthodontics, you can get a dazzling smile in just 2 visits. That's right, just 2 visits. Do the research. Check them out. If you want a beautiful smile at affordable prices, call my dentist at McKinneyDentist.com at 972-54-SMILE. That's 972 54SMILE. My family won't go anywhere else. 3 private practice doctors open 6 days a week at 7 a.m., 2 convenient McKinney locations, Doctors Berlin, Markham, and Lynch, the finest dentists in all of McKinney and Plano and Allen. Check them out on the web at mckinney-dentist.com. Having a mouth full of dark-colored metal is so commonplace that many people don't know there's an alternative. Hi, Mike Fisher here to tell you about my personal dental office, the wonderful folks at mckinney-dentist.com. I hated all the metal fillings in my mouth, but I thought it was too late to do anything about it until my dentist at mckinney-dentist.com introduced me to metal-free dentistry. I learned that teeth with metal fillings can develop cracks because of the expansion and contraction of the mercury, and it's all stuff that they handle at mckinney-dentist.com. You don't want a root canal. You want mckinney-dentist.com for a dazzling white smile without the metal. Call my dentist at Family and Cosmetic Dentistry of North Texas at 972-54SMILE. That's 972-54SMILE. My family won't go anywhere else. 3 private practice doctors open 6 days a week at 7 a.m., 2 convenient McKinney locations, Doctors Berlin, Markham, and Lynch, the finest dentists in all of McKinney and Plano and Allen. Check them out on the web at mckinney-dentist.com.
Okay, you just listened to 3 radio ads. And we're not going to question, what you thought of them or what you didn't think of them. I'm going to take a couple minutes here and just set up the statistics and the performance of radio, and then how he's going to go through why the radio ads are scripted the way they're scripted. Radio is a medium that when you first invest in it, you're really for the most part, not in all areas, but for the most part, you're investing in what's called familiarity. You're using a mass medium with broad geographic range to make people familiar with your name and the services that you offer, and perhaps even where you are, maybe even your website domain, right? So you're trying to breed familiarity with people that don't know anything about you. As you do that, after the first, normally 180 to 200, 200 days, normally what you're going to see is a bell curve. And you're going to see responses and calls. Certainly, you're going to have a call tracking number on your radio ads, because definitely it's going to generate, or it's going to consume more than 10% of your marketing budget. So you have to have a call tracking number. And what you're going to see is you're going to see those inquiries numbers start to go up on the first part of the bell curve, and that's the part that advertisers on radio and television enjoy. I mean, they enjoy the growth and the build. The problem, though, in dentistry specifically, is that a lot of dentists just use the radio for one thing. And they'll promote, the most common that you would recognize would be the sedation dentistry ads that you've heard yourself, perhaps driving home from work on the radio. And you'll hear them for 6, 8, 9 months, and then you won't hear them anymore. And that's the bell curve. The doctor invested in the ramp, enjoyed the travel up to the peak of the bell curve. The problem is that if you promote one thing, that bell curve has a short life and it drops. And you're still spending $3,000 a month while it's dropping, just like you were spending $3,000 a month while it was going up and you were enjoying it. Okay? So Howie, why don't you go through scripting and the rotation.
Right.
Okay.
Well, as with any medium, you first have to consider what real estate you have. In the print mediums, that's the size of the ad, right? In radio, it's the time you have. You have 30 seconds, or more properly, to do it right, we like 60-second spots, okay? Now, a human can normally speak about 170 words in 60 seconds, okay? And that applies whether there's one speaker or 2 or 3 or 4, right? That's the real estate you have. That's all the words that you can squeeze in. Now, part of your message, obviously, has to be the contact information at the end. Name of the practice, the phone number 2, maybe 3 times, and, of course, the website. Now, that will normally take up about 35 words. And then the opening of these spots, as you'll notice, are very similar. In fact, the opening and the closing are almost identical. So what you have in the middle is about 100 words to get your message across, okay? So that's not a lot.
No.
So you cannot promote the entire range of your marketable attributes in one 60-second spot. It's impossible. Don't try to do it.
Don't try to do it.
Instead, what you do, and you'll notice you notice this in these ads, is you present one marketable attribute per spot, and then you have the same opening and the same closing again in the second spot, but the middle part is a different marketable attribute. First one might be metal-free dentistry. The second one might be sedation. The third one might be implants. The fourth one might be core deep bleaching. The fifth one will be something else, right? And you rotate these throughout the ad run, the spot run.
It doesn't cost you any more money.
Right.
It's the same $3,000 a month you were, or whatever your budget allocation to radio is. It's the same amount of money. You're just rotating the message. So if you rotate the message, your bell curve lasts a lot longer.
Right.
Right. And you avoid what we discussed in prior segments, which is the niche trap.
Niche trap, exactly.
All right.
You avoid that.
Right. Because if the same radio listeners going to and from work hear nothing about you other than sedation, and you can sleep while you're getting your dentistry done, sooner or later, everybody that's driving to and from work listening to the radio believes all you do is put people to sleep.
Right.
They don't know anything else about you. So that's another reason why you rotate. So you rotate your ads to maintain the top level of the bell curve for as long as you can,
right,
so that you avoid paying $3,000 a month when it's coming down.
Right.
Okay, that's the main key.
Another thing you may have noticed about these spots is that they conform to what we have come to call the ideal radio situation. Now, you may not be able to achieve the ideal, but if you can, this would be the proper way to do it. You'll notice that the spot is being read by a popular radio personality. And this is a personality who has a longevity with the radio station and has established a following, an audience, okay? So this gives you some authority here, some third-party endorsement. If you can get that personality into the practice, then they can speak from personal experience. That's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can't do that, but they at least have to have some familiarity with the practice. Have them come out, give them a tour, whiten their teeth, whatever. That way it gives it more authenticity, because you have to have the authenticity. You can't fake it. So we've built these spots so that they conform to that ideal situation. You can't always achieve it, but try.
Right. Which that pretty much sums up radio, which is now going to move us to billboards. And like I said before, we normally don't put people in billboards unless they are active in radio or television, because the radio and the television breeds familiarity. The billboards just continue that familiarity within basically the same geographic market area.
Right. Now, another thing about billboards is it's the same with everything. You've got real estate. You've got very limited real estate.
Right.
So you'll note that these have very strong images and a single, solid, hard-hitting, marketable attribute.
Right.
And just like radio, you rotate your billboards.
You rotate your billboards. So when you're signing your contract with the billboard company, you're going to ask them, I want to rotate my sign every X months, sometimes 3, sometimes 6 months. So that same commuter is seeing a different message from you, just like radio, just like television. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the design and all the mediums one by one. Our next segment is going to start the internet, which is going to be a couple of segments. We're going to break it all down for you and hopefully dispel some myths. Hopefully what you learn from this segment will allow you to take your own advertising, or allow you to direct your own designer or your own marketing firm to do a better job with whatever money you're investing in any of these mediums. So thanks for watching.
Thanks.